Washington football. Woo! Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Burgundy Zone. I am your host, Kyle, and I'm joined by my two co-hosts, Michael Hall and Michael Reed. The Burgundy Zone is a part of the Frederick Podcast Network. You can find out more by going to www.listenfrederick.com. But we are joined for the first time by Mr. Ethan Cadeaux, writer of the Commanders for NBC Sports Washington. How are you doing on this fantastic Thursday evening, sir?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on. Excited to talk some Commanders football.
I appreciate you, brother. You know, it's always it's a busy Thursday. I know there's football coming up tonight, and you're taking some time out to talk to us about the Commanders because, you know, they're more important. And that being said, obviously this is the bye week, so we're going to kind of assess the season up until this point, and then later on with our questions, we're going to more turn it towards the future. But for now, can you kind of give us an injury update to the offensive line? A friend of our podcast, Mr. Tyler Larson, dislocated his kneecap. I think Cosme got nicked up in that game as well. If you can kind of educate us on where the O-line stands at this point.
For sure, yeah. Like you mentioned, Tyler Larson, he tweeted safer fields after that game at MetLife. It doesn't look like he's going to be back anytime soon. You hate to see it. A guy who tore his Achilles last year comes back, and he's been one of the more underrated standouts since he came into the lineup. That offensive line's been a lot better since. So that's going to be a big blow. And then Cosme, he's dealing with the ankle injury. He hasn't been able to stay healthy all year, whether it was the thumb earlier this year that caused him to miss a few games, and he's been in that rotation with Cornelius Lucas. First time he plays the whole game at guard with the absence of the other injuries, he gets nicked up too. So kind of a bummer for that second-year guy. And I don't know about you guys, but I'm not super confident in Nick Martin coming in and solidifying that center position. We saw it earlier in the year, some errant snaps, some other issues there. So 4 huge games coming up, and the offensive line's not where you want to be hurt, but it's kind of the reality of the situation right now.
Do you expect Trey Turner to be back next week?
I think so. I haven't heard much on it, so I believe he will be, but he didn't practice all the week before the bye. Hopefully this week will help heal up. He's played through a lot earlier this year. He's playing through a quad injury, I believe. That was pretty bad. So I think if he'll do whatever he can to get out there, especially considering the current status of the rest of those guys.
Yeah, definitely hope that the bye week can get these guys a little bit healthier leading up to that big Sunday night game. And speaking of the game, this team, they kind of started off 1-4. Obviously, everyone was up in arms, wanted pretty much to burn everything to the ground with this team. You can attribute a lot of things to their turnaround. A lot of people said the running game and Brian Robinson getting healthy. People could say Carson Wentz maybe getting injured and Taylor Heineke coming into the offense. People could say the defense making a turnaround and playing better. What would you say that is the biggest reason for the team's turnaround from the start?
So I'm going to take the easy cop-out answer here and say it's a mix of all of those. Mm-hmm. I don't think there's one certain thing that occurred in week 6 or week 5 that kind of switched from this 1-4 to the 7-5-1 record now. Obviously, the quarterback, that's where people will point to most. Heineke's come in, solidified that unit, played well, but who's not to say that if Carson Wentz didn't get hurt, if they shifted to this ideology where you're running the ball, controlling time of possession, playing standout defense, we wouldn't have similar results. Heineke's played well at times. He's made some clutch throws, as we saw last week, the Green Bay game. He's also made some bad fourth quarter turnovers like we saw in that Minnesota game as well. So I'm not going to put all the responsibility on him for this turnaround. I think he has a big part. But that defense, like you mentioned, they've just been playing lights out. The secondary, I think getting rid of William Jackson was honestly a huge boost to that group. Getting Bobby McCain, Derek Forrest, and Cam Curl all in the field at the same time. These dudes all seem to play 100% of the snaps. And I think that's made as big of a difference, if not, than who's been under center. And, of course, the last thing, Brian Robinson, this guy never seems to lose yards. And falling forward, obviously, it's a very underrated trait, but it's proven to be very effective with the way he runs, too. His stats aren't great. He's averaging, I think, 3.8 yards per carry right now. But that's a guy you want on your team, and he's only getting better as the season goes on.
Yeah, and I don't even think it's necessarily a cop-out. I think you're right. That's just how it is. It's a combination of things. So I think you said that perfectly. But looking at this team, I know that there was a lot of players that had huge expectations this year. Some players have fulfilled those expectations. Some have exceeded them. Some haven't lived up to them. Who has been the most surprising player, good or bad, for you this season?
So for me, it's got to be Derek Forrest. He's been incredible ever since week 1 when he filled in for Cam Curl, made that game-sealing interception on Trevor Lawrence. When Curl came back, there were a few weeks when Forrest wasn't really playing a whole lot. They're trying to figure things out. But I don't think it's a coincidence ever since they put Jackson on the sidelines and traded him, but really just put Forrest in and playing 100% of the snaps. That secondary is balling out. And I think the best way to describe Forrest, in my opinion, is he's the perfect level of physicality without being like a headhunter or crossing the line. And when you have a thumper like that on the back end, makes a totally different dynamic for defense. So I've been really impressed with him and Cam Curl, that safety duo. Hopefully they can be in this town for a long time because they're both young and really, really damn good.
Yeah. And also, I mean, with Derek Forrest, it's weird because you didn't hear much about him this offseason. I mean, we heard about Cole Turner. We heard about the rest of the secondary playing well together as a unit, but you didn't hear much about Derek Forrest. So for him to come out, do that week 1 and then keep that level of play, I completely agree with you. I think it's been huge.
Definitely.
Absolutely. Now, my next question, let's kind of wrap up the past tense of this season with this, because Terry McLaurin, 62 receptions, 945 yards, which right now ranks 8th in the NFL, 3 touchdowns. Of his catches, 71% of his catches have resulted in a first down. Deron Payne has 8.5 sacks. Jonathan Allen has 7.5 sacks. Montez Sweat has 7. The Commanders in total have 34 sacks, Ethan. My question, who has been the MVP thus far this season?
I think Deron Payne is the correct answer. He's had that career year on the back end. He's going to get paid a boatload of money this offseason. Obviously, the Commanders hope to keep him, but we'll see. It's tough to have 2 high-paid defensive tackles together, but his play, he's just not leaving anything off the field. Like, he's making plays. When there's an opportunity to make a play, he's making it. And it's hard for me to give the team MVP to a defensive tackle, but I think he's been that good. And I mean, offensively, I can't go without mentioning Terry. All the first 4 weeks of the year, first 5 weeks, we all complained he wasn't getting the ball enough. That's not because we want him to just succeed or we have him in fantasy stock or anything like that. That's because he's simply the best receiver, best player on offense, and needs to touch the ball as much as possible. And I think of all the things Heineke has brought to the table since coming in, the high target rate he has to Terry has been the most positive thing, because Wentz just wasn't getting him the ball. And you can chalk it up to a bunch of different things, lack of chemistry, reps together in the offseason. But as soon as Heineke came in, McLaurin returned to that elite number 1 guy we've seen. And it's about time he gets the respect he deserves.
Totally agree. I'm glad that Terry finally, like you say, is getting the respect he deserves, especially the national attention, where not just the players, but the national media and the national television guys are actually talking about Terry. So definitely a good sign for him and a good thing for him. But looking forward to this game in 2 weeks on Sunday. This past Sunday, obviously, this team had a lot of chances to put this game away, close this game out. Had a couple mistakes, a couple penalties here and there that kind of set them back. What are some things that you think they need to clean up going into this Sunday matchup against the Giants, coming off of the last matchup?
I'd say to start, success on first down. Too many times they found themselves behind the sticks, and this offense is just not built to play like that. They need to be in second and manageable, third and manageable, and make it easier on Heineke, and also keep that ability to you can both pass or run. If you're in second and 11, second and 12, then third and 9, third and 10, this offense isn't going to succeed. We've seen that time and time again. And it's tough to watch because when they're in third and long, it's either going to be a screen or mesh concepts. They're really not going to throw downfield, because I don't know if both Scott Turner and Ron have full faith in Taylor when the game is on the line. But also the penalties was very big issue. There's a ton of complaints about the refs. I even thought there were some pretty errant calls on both sides, but definitely on Washington's side too, that didn't help them out. But you just can't be making these mental mistakes in a game that has such high stakes like Sundays did. So I think come this Sunday, I think it's going to be a tough week of practice. This team doesn't really practice in pads that much anymore, but with them coming off a bye, I think they might have a little more physicality in Wednesday's session, and then they're going to be ready to play under the lights, national exposure. I think this team's in a good spot right now.
Yeah, and just to go back real quick to touch on Terry, if Terry goes, he's only 55 yards away from 1,000 yards. If he does that on a national stage on Sunday night, that's going to be huge, I would imagine, for him to do that in front of the country. But what does this defense have to do against New York? What did you see last time they played, and what is something that they really need to improve on to get this W?
Containing Daniel Jones's legs is by far the number one thing.
He literally looks like Forrest Gump, and he runs like him too. And it's
I think someone coined the term Vanilla Vic for him, and it's perfect because for 363 days of the year, he is a below average kind of just quarterback that no one really thinks is a franchise guy, and then he plays Washington twice a year, and he's a mix of Randall Cunningham, Brett Favre, Michael Vick, whatever you want to put together. And it's just, I don't get it. There's like there's nothing you can pinpoint to understand it, but containing him is big. Last year, Ron Rivera talked a lot about the defensive front freelancing and not containing and staying in their lanes and such. I think there's a little bit more freelancing this past week than he would have liked. So kind of just keeping a spy on him, making sure he can't beat you with his legs, because if you put him in a position where he has to beat you with his arm, I like Washington's chances. But if he's getting 70, 80 rushing yards by himself, it's going to be a long night.
Yeah, I think a lot of what it is his stupid face just being non-threatening to the defense. They keep thinking that they're facing off against like a best buddies program situation, like a Make-A-Wish thing, and they're not. This guy's an NFL quarterback, you know.
Yeah, he's legit. I know, and to your credit, Ethan, right now the Commanders' offense ranks 28th in the NFL in third down conversion rate. So your first down comment is spot on. I agree with you there. But looking forward, going down this stretch, Washington right now, Ethan, is sitting at 7-5-1, looking outside into the wild card rankings, right behind Seattle and the Giants, obviously. So who is the X factor on this team going down this last stretch of 5 games?
I'm taking the easy answer again, but it's Heineke. Okay. He can't make those mistakes that he seems to make once or twice a game where it's like, what are you doing? Like for 3/4 of this game, he looks really good. You understand why they stuck with him. He adds an element to this offense that Carson Wentz didn't really have. And then like the Minnesota game, he just has a terrible throw over the middle, completely lets them back in the game. Against Atlanta, luckily it didn't hurt him, but the interception right before half when they had a chance to add more points. He seems to throw interceptions at the most inopportune times. I almost think it's similar to Antonio Gibson last year, where when he fumbled, it came at the worst possible time. And everyone loves Heineke as a person. They like super down-to-earth dude, one of us, all that. And everyone wants to see him succeed. I do too, but he just can't make these little mistakes, because if he does, it's only going to be one mistake that could cost him against a team like the Giants or San Francisco or even Cleveland coming up on the schedule too.
To piggyback off of that being said, based on your reaction, do you expect Taylor to finish out the year as the starter?
I do. I think it would take 2 poor performances in a row for Ron to really consider going to Carson. I think if Taylor didn't have that excellent drive in the fourth quarter last week against New York to tie the game, I think maybe he'd be a little bit more on eggshells than he is right now. But if you're in the playoff race, and like Washington is, and every game means so much, to switch not only to Wentz, but it's clear who the guys in the locker room rally behind. I'm not saying Taylor's the more talented quarterback or any of that, but it's clear the other 52 guys, more of them probably want number 4 under center than number 11. And if he does have 2 poor performances in a row, then you're probably not talking about wild card anymore. And then you might as well see what you have in Sam Howell, right? So I'd say right now, my personal opinion, I think Heineke finishes out the year. If he doesn't, I think we're more likely to see Howell, if they're out of contention, than Wentz. I wouldn't be surprised if Wentz doesn't take another snap this year.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people want to see Sam Howell if they get out of contention. So definitely wouldn't be surprised, especially with only him being the only quarterback technically on the roster going into next year. So I guess at some point you got to see what you got in him. But yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, to wrap this up, Ethan, I'll have a couple more questions for you. But Brian Robinson, as of late, it seems like he is healthy. He looked like some bursts. You saw back to form last week. Do you expect Brian Robinson to continue the trend and dominate the carries?
I do. And I think something that's kind of gone under the wraps with Brian Robinson is he admitted to us that he hadn't felt fully 100% until like that Falcons game. And he honestly doesn't even feel like he's 110% back yet. And each week they've increased his workload. He's responded well. And there's something about these Alabama running backs, but 95% of them seem to be at least above average running backs in the NFL, and he's just the latest one in that list. In terms of the physical running style that they're trying to play, he's the one that fits that the best in that backfield. I'm a huge Antonio Gibson truther. I think he's one of the most explosive players with the ball in his hands and space on this roster. But I think that's where you got to get him the ball, even lining him up in the slot, screens and stuff. I don't think he should be cutting into those tough 3 to 4 yard carries that he's had in the past, but it really seems like Brian Robinson's taking over for now.
And my next question for you, Daron Payne, Montez Sweat, I think both coming up the contract years. Obviously, their contracts are going to have to be dealt with. Do you think those guys are going to stay with Washington? Would you re-sign both of them?
I would. I think Daron Payne, he's an excellent defensive tackle, but I also think he slightly benefits playing alongside Jonathan Allen, who's also an all-pro caliber defensive tackle. I do think there's a lot of teams like to build with the outside in when it comes to the defensive front, but Washington's success is from the inside out. And if you keep those two guys, you don't have to pay Montez Sweat this year. He can go into his 5th-year option the way Daron Payne did this year and figure that out as well. The big X factor in this whole contract situation was everyone just assumed they're going to have to pay Chase Young down the line, which is probably still true. But, I mean, we haven't seen him at all this year. Kind of disappointing last year. I don't think it's 110% guarantee that that's going to happen. So I think right now you got to take care of your studs. And when you don't have a lot of money locked in to a franchise guy, assuming they move on from Carson Wentz after the year, you should put that money in your first round picks who have grown and blossomed into some of the best players in their position. So until they're paying a quarterback 35, 40 mil, I see no reason why they can't keep them all.
And then a two-parter for you. Last one I have for you. Jahan Dotson, do you expect him to continue to get more reps down the stretch, the offense to get the ball to be pushed around to multiple assets? And then also with 4 games left, what do you expect? What do you think the record's going to be over the next 4 games?
So I'll start with the first part. Jahan, I think similar to Brian Robinson, the more games we go, the more he's going to be involved. He had literally 0 reps catching passes from Taylor Heineke in the OTAs, training camp, and all that, because Heineke's working with the 2s, Wentz is working with the 1s. And when Terry wasn't there for all of OTAs and minicamp, Jahan slid into that role as pretty much that number 1 guy. So it took a few games for him and Heineke to connect. We saw 5 for 54 and that excellent touchdown at the end. I think that's more of a sign of things to come. You drafted this guy in the first round. You're going to use him. He's super skilled. He's such a great route runner. He does a lot of things really good. While he doesn't necessarily do anything great yet, I think there's potential there. And I think he's been a home run draft pick so far, even if the numbers aren't ecstatic. And for their record, I'm going to take the optimistic view as well. You have the Giants at home on Sunday night in your building. You just tied them. You have everything to play for. I think they'll win that one. San Francisco, it's tough across the country, but they are playing a 3rd-string quarterback. You never know. It's not as much of a guaranteed loss as we all thought. Cleveland looked horrible with Deshaun Watson under center. That's at home on New Year's Day. I think they'll win that one. And then hopefully if the Eagles lock up the division, the Cowboys will lock up that 5 seed week 18. They'll have nothing to play for. So I'm going to say 3-1. I'll say there's going to be a loss in there at some point, probably San Francisco and maybe Dallas if they do have something to play for. But I think 3-1 is a lot more likely than 1-3.
Yeah, come on, Ethan. We want the Cowboy starters to play. We want to beat them with their strength out there. We don't want anyone to be benched.
I'll take it any way I can get it. I don't care.
I know. I want to watch a good game. Ethan, I can't thank you enough for joining us for your first time on the show. It was a blast, man. You brought some great content. I really do appreciate you stopping by. Before you get out of here, would you like to plug your social media handle just in case anybody watching hasn't followed you yet and would like to?
Yes, sir. Appreciate you guys having me on. Ton of fun as always. Ethan_Cadeaux on all socials. That's CADEAUX. I know it's tough to spell, but that's where I'm at.
Like down in the bayou. I get it, man.
Yes,
Ethan,
sir.
Have a good night, sir. Enjoy the football game and have a great weekend, brother.
You guys as well. Appreciate it.
Thank you. All right, everybody. We just spoke with the man, Mr. Ethan Cadeaux. Impressive.
Yeah, man. I love that. I agreed with just about every single thing that he said. So I love that. It's not too often you get a media member who's positive and thinks that we're going to win,
Yeah.
3-1. I'll take it.
Before we get any further, we do have to say happy birthday to Hall, who is turning 15 years young today. No, but seriously, happy birthday, man. He's got his fresh new birthday sweatshirt. He just
Yeah.
got. Look, you can see the creases in it and everything. He's
Yeah.
happy to be flying.
I'm
Hall.
still shining.
I'd be doing the same thing.
21 for the third time.
Hell yeah. Hall, I hear you're getting older.
Nah, I'm Benjamin Button. Benjamin Hall. I'll just go backwards.
Okay. Yeah, no, I like that. Love that for you. Yeah.
Benjamin Hall, that's hysterical. But guys, I want to briefly, before we're joined by our next guest, we answer fan questions. Obviously, this being the bye week, Washington kind of tying last week. Hall, you weren't here with us.
Kind of tying, no.
Well, no, that was legit tie, obviously. But I got to rewatch the game and everything like that. So let's talk about up to this point. Let's talk about your surprise up to this point in the bye week, where you could say the biggest surprise so far this season from Washington.
Biggest surprise so far. I would say that for me personally, it's people are gonna be like, huh? But I would say Deron Payne. It's not because Deron Payne just like came out of nowhere and like just burst on the scene all of a sudden, but it's more of he just came into this year and he told himself, this is my contract year. I'm about to just go straight gorilla beast mode and just ball out. And it just seems like every single week he's flashing 3 to 4 to 5 times, playing alongside Jonathan Allen. I mean, how many times have you seen Baldy's breakdowns where he's just literally just taking the center or the guard, just literally tossing them to the side. He's beating them guys off the first step, swim moving them, rip moving, stuff like that. So, yeah, I just think that biggest surprise, like there's obviously bigger surprises, but for me personally, I'm just literally blown away every single week how much growth Deron Payne has showed since his rookie year.
Yeah, so I'm going to have a pompous one. I'm going to have a regular one. The regular one is Benjamin St-Juste. That's the biggest surprise thus far. I don't think anybody could sit here confidently and say that they would have thought that missing out of Benjamin St-Juste would have been a huge problem going against the Giants this week if you would have asked them in week 2. You know what I mean? So Benjamin St-Juste coming to life, helping them beat the Chicago Bears, really being a fundamental force on that outside and solidifying himself as the number 1 DB and somebody who can mirror wide receivers. I think he deserves it. And so I think he is so far the most surprising player on this team. And then the pompous one is John Ridgeway. Obviously, I had my film breakdown on him before the draft. I even said if
you loved him.
Yeah, if you're looking at a replace for Matt Ioannidis, this is your guy. The fact that they were able to go out and get him, and not only go out and get him, but utilize him, use him constantly throughout the games. And not only could they do that, they plugged him in, and he fit right in. He was suplexing guys. I mean, he just fit right in with everyone else. So from 2 of them, Benjamin St-Juste, John Ridgeway.
Yeah, and I mean, my biggest surprise, I think, like in a positive way, has been Derek Forrest. I think that, he just touched on it. I don't think anybody expected that. I mean, coming out of camp, nobody was talking about him, like I said, and all of a sudden he comes out there, he's making plays. He's one of the highest rated safeties in the NFL, according to PFF. And on the flip side of that, something that's been kind of disappointing that everybody was pumping up all offseason, all training camp has been this tight end group, and this tight end group has not contributed. Cole Turner, I mean, look, I don't want to blame anybody, but Logan Paulson was pumping rainbows into their ass all offseason. I can say that, okay? He's my best friend. But Logan, what you doing? Why are they doing this? You know, tell me what they're doing wrong, Logan, from your personal perspective, because it's been tough. I'm sorry, I thought Logan was here. I don't know why I kept talking to him like that. But no, it's been tough to watch. I thought the tight end group, I thought they were gonna have a big impact this year. They haven't had one at all.
Yeah, and now before we are joined by our next guest, let's give out some grades for the coaching staff. Really simple, in 3 tiers: head coach, offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator. Hall, if you want to start with defensive coordinator.
I mean, how can you not go with an A? I mean, if you would have told me coming out of the first quarter of the season that this defense would be top 5, top 6 in a lot of the statistical categories, just pretty much just taking over games, dominating games, and honestly just being the catalyst for this team to be on the precipice to making the playoffs, I would have literally been like, yeah, you're on your head. You're crazy, and Jack Del Rio's not going to be here next year. But here we are in week 14, and Jack Del Rio is looking like he's coming back. And, so I got to give him an A.
I'll say a B. I think things are starting to unravel a little bit on defense. I do think that there is some scheming involved there that needs to be cleaned up, to be perfectly honest with you. So for me, I'll give them a B. I think Jack Del Rio just needs to clean up just a little bit more. I expect a little bit more out of Jack. That he should have. This is how the defense should be going. But I can understand from everyone, because early in the season, everyone was saying they were dinosaurs and they had no idea what they were doing.
It caused like a massive dust up in the beginning of the season. It was crazy.
Dude, that is probably one of the funniest things I've ever seen. Is just everyone going ape crap on this coaching staff. Then that 6-game stretch turned around, and it's like, oh,
Everybody forgets.
yeah. Now it's like, no, it's not because of Taylor. It's everyone else. Well, yeah. Calm down, everybody. What about you, Reed?
Yeah, I'm with Hall. I'm gonna go for Jack Del Rio. I'm gonna go with an A, just because you look at the beginning of the season, this defense. I mean, they were putting the offense in position, like especially against Detroit. They were giving up big plays, but they were still doing enough. Like we could have if we would have scored, we could have early on. We could have won some of those games. Like the defense was doing enough. They weren't doing a great job, but then all of a sudden they got it turned around. I do agree with you, Kyle. Over the last couple of weeks, the wheels kind of haven't fallen off. I mean, against Atlanta, they got exposed a little bit, but they still came right back. And good defenses make big plays when they need to make big plays, and we saw that against Atlanta when it mattered the most. And Jack Del Rio, I don't think enough can be said about how smart this guy is when it comes to football and how good of a motivator he is. I think he's done a fantastic job, and I think people need to give him more credit.
Yeah, dude, he gets a ride out of these guys. You know what I'm saying?
It's a dust up. He gets a dust up.
Now we are joined by our next guest, Mr. Mike Puckett, friend of the pod. Good dude. Just came from Qatar. Obviously, was at the World Cup. But so before we get into our question we had here, Puck, if you just want to kind of talk about the travel that you went with your wife to the World Cup, how was it?
And are you going to expose Qatar for shady maneuvers at the World Cup?
Well, I won't put Qatar out there, but the whole experience itself was amazing. It was everything that I expected, and I couldn't ask for more. We did a little bit more than just go to the World Cup. You know, we stopped in Paris. We saw the Eiffel Tower, had a croissant and some coffee there, so that was great. Then we made our way to Egypt.
Had a croissant.
Yeah, I had
stereotypical.
Yeah.
Did you say it in like that kind of French way? You were like, "Can I get a croissant?"
Yeah.
No, I was like, "Can I get like that swirly bread thing that you all serve?"
That's hysterical.
You know, so that was great. And obviously, the first thing that the Uber driver said was like, "Hey, did you ever see Rush Hour?" And I was like, "Yeah." They were like, "Well, they filmed it here," and I was like, "I know." And it was great. And you know, that was a great time. And then we went from there, we went to Egypt, and you know, I got to see the pyramids, and we stayed there for about 4 days.
And
that was
damn.
Oh yeah. So I know you saw the picture of me standing on a camel, and I did set a trend. I asked him if I could do that, and he was like, "Well, it's never been done before. Are you sure?" And I was like, "Yeah. I mean, if I get hurt, I get hurt, but this is like a one-time thing."
Imagine if that camel kicked you off like mid-picture. That'd be awesome.
Did you find out if the aliens helped build the pyramids?
So they didn't want to say anything, but I'm gonna let you know right now.
They did, right?
It is impossible. It is impossible. It is impossible.
We got boots on the ground. Mike Puckett reporting live from the headquarters in Egypt.
Yeah, you're not going to hear from me next few months, I guess. Now, I mean, the guys said there's 6.5 million tons of stone that just make up the one pyramid alone.
Now the new theory is they used water to like help lift the limestone or whatever, and it's like, I don't know anything about limestone, but I don't think it floats. That's just
well, you know, and the funny thing is that the bottom of the pyramid is actually made of granite, so that it could hold better structurally. So the bottom stones are actually heavier than everything that it's sitting on, you know, that's sitting on top of it.
Right.
And it was just incredible to see. I went inside of them. I got to see like the tombs and stuff. I went to the museum and I got to see the mummies.
Don't get near me, bro.
No. Hey, you know what?
That dude's gonna show up looking for an eyeball. No, don't come my way.
I was freaked out that one of those little bugs were going to come out of nowhere and start crawling inside of me.
From the mummy.
Oh no,
but it's
a real thing too.
They have them. I saw one that they have, and looking at the mummies, it was incredible. Obviously, I wasn't supposed to take pictures, but I had to. Yeah, and I took a couple myself. Right. From there, we went to Qatar and went to the World Cup, and it was interesting because it was totally different experience than probably previous World Cups, you know, with their drinking laws and how they go about their everyday life. And, you know, you kind of just have to accept it because that's their rules, you know, so you can't really complain about it. You're spending all the money to go over there. And, but the experience, works, right? It is. I mean, they had certain spots, like, you know, they had certain hotels you can go and drink at and stuff like that. But as far as like public, you weren't drinking at all. You know, there was a few places I couldn't even take my lighter inside, you know. So it was just, you know,
everything like you got. I know you got a lighter, bro.
Oh yeah, no,
Like, you look like you got a lighter.
Yeah, for sure. No, but there was this one place, a fan zone, that said, "Hey, you can't bring your lighter in, but if you want to smoke a cigarette, we have a lighter for you inside." And I was kind of like, okay, well, I guess whatever. But the whole experience of the World Cup itself, like going to the game, I was able to go to the USA versus Iran, and I mean, it was electric. I mean, you talk about a loud volume of a crowd. I mean, it was just incredible. I mean, the chants, the songs, the booing, the just the cheering in general. I mean, it is incredible. I mean, it beats anything I've ever been to as far as a sports event.
Man, we just need to get FedEx like that, bro. That's what we need to
do. You know what? I mean, hey, we go out there and we put a winning team together and we go out there and win consistently. I think you'll start seeing people come back.
And we've been saying that for so long, man. Like
I know. I mean,
if we face like Canada or something at FedEx, we could probably get it like that too.
I think so. I think so. Hey, no, but guys, to wrap this up, this episode, let's kind of break down these fan questions, Puckett. And this one's from Ty Mac. I want to go to you.
Kind of a little more interested in Qatar, to be honest with you.
Hey.
No offense, guys who ask questions, but
true or false, Puckett? Carson Wentz's injury can be viewed as a benching, let's say. If he has to come back sometime this season with a better understanding of the offense, he'll be better than earlier in the year.
False. And I think it's false because our protection has been horrible. I mean, and we see what he's like under pressure. I mean, the man has chicken legs, and it's I think that as far as like talent wise, I feel like he obviously has more talent than Taylor Heineke. He's able to push the ball down the field a little bit better, but we haven't been able to see that consistency. And with our offensive line play, I just don't think he'll come in and be any better than what TH has been these past few weeks.
Yeah, look, right now they're 24th in points, averaging 19.5 per game, 18th in the red zone, 13th in rushing yards, 23rd in passing yards.
It's hard to be worse than that.
Yeah, and they're 26th in sacks, giving up 2.8 every game, and obviously they're 28th on third down. They can do better. Am I convinced that Carson Wentz could come in and do better than he did early on in the season? I think he could do better, but I'm not sure how much better because of how the game plan has changed. Because Carson Wentz didn't have a bad start. It was just the team wasn't producing as a team successfully. But Carson was doing okay to an extent, stat-wise, you could say. So I don't want to say that Carson can do better stat-wise when he can't, but we still win football games, if that makes sense. So I'm going to say no, just because just based on what the O-line is giving you at the moment. I don't think that Carson would be able to replicate what he did early on in the season when Chase Rouillet was in there, when there was some more formidable confidence building offensive line up there. With Cosme's injury, I am kind of concerned at the moment. What about you, Hall?
Yeah, I'll go false, and it has nothing to do with the offensive line because the offensive line is a little bit bad in pass protection, but I think the running game is definitely improved since the beginning. Brian Robinson being back would definitely help Carson Wentz. So I definitely think that the way that they run the ball would kind of open up Carson Wentz to be able to pass the ball. But I'm going to say false just because he can learn the offense better, understand the offense a little bit better by sitting on the sidelines and seeing what Taylor's doing, studying and whatnot. But the only way to get better at football is to play football. If he's not out there getting the reps and actually getting in sync with the receivers again, getting in sync with the tight ends, getting in sync with the offensive line. Like I said, just actually taking those reps on the field against the 100% fast play of the other team and the other defense, then you're not going to really see the full 100% potential of Carson Wentz's offense. So as of right now, it's too late in the season, so I would definitely say that that's false.
I agree with you. Thank you, T-Mac. That was a great question. Reed, I'm going to go to you with this next one. This one's from the Colonel. Appreciate you, Colonel. Our bye week is coming at a good time, but we are seriously thin at a few positions. Can you give us an assessment on how players coming back, i.e. Tyler Larson, Benjamin St-Juste, Chase Young, etc., will impact our final playoff run, Reed?
I mean, yeah, the bye week I do think has come at a perfect time. I mean, just in terms of getting healthy. I mean, looking at guys like Benjamin St-Juste, Tyler Larson's, if he's coming back at all, it's not going to be yet, right? It's going to.
I don't think so. With a dislocated kneecap, I think that's going to take a long time.
That's tough.
Yeah, that's what I figured. But yeah, I mean, I think it comes at like we talked about Benjamin St-Juste. I mean, we've clearly missed him over the last few weeks. Kendall Fuller's been fantastic, but just getting healthy in general, man. These guys. No player on this team is 100% healthy. I mean, you get banged up all throughout the season. So just being able to have this James, calm down. Being able to have this little break before you go into this final stretch, I think it's just huge, man. I mean, you really can't stress it enough. We saw this last year where we got injured and the wheels just fell off and they couldn't seem to get it right. And right now, I think that they're in a very good position to really turn this around and get guys out there on the field, their best players. So I think it's huge. I don't think it can be understated.
What about you, Puckett? What do you think? Can you give us an assessment on how players coming back like Benjamin St-Juste, Chase Young will impact our final playoff run?
Not gonna lie, I forgot the question, but I rambled with it. So
you did great.
The way that I look at it and I assess it is, when these guys were, playing before, how much of a difference were they making when they were playing before, prior to them being hurt, and the way that we're playing right now? And I'm not going to say that it's going to put any more wins on the table, but I think it is very important for us to get healthy. And it's very, especially right now and getting through the bye week, because we have a stretch right now that we have to take advantage of. We kind of missed the opportunity last week against the Giants. So I feel like this is very important for us to get healthy, and it's the perfect time.
Yeah, I agree with you in that breath. In training camp, I said I was concerned about the injuries at that point because right before the season, if Andrew Norwell and Trey Turner are banged up, that is a concern for me because that means that they're not going to get any reps. And if they start the season injured, that means that they are going to be playing injured. And that's what you're going to see. So while everyone is flipping up about the offensive line being terrible, this is what I was saying in training camp, because if they're injured, they're not playing to their best capability. And that's what you saw early on. That's what's happening now. That being said, it would be huge if Wes Schweitzer could come back into form and help out possibly at center, possibly at guard, him and Trey Turner. But Benjamin St-Juste is going to be pivotal, especially Chase Young, to this playoff run. You're going to go against some very good offenses. You're going to need some fresh legs to come in on the defensive line. Then also we saw at the secondary position last, like Christian Holmes and stuff, those type of plays can lose you games. And so you got to have that type of guy with confidence builder in Benjamin St-Juste. So they are going to be pivotal for this team going forward because they make, like we saw against the Chicago Bears, they make those small little plays that help you win football games. And yes, Chase Young's
length is awesome.
And Chase Young's presence, the fact that his stature just being on the field, there's eyes on him. I guarantee you that. He might not be 100% yet, but there's going to be eyes on him when he does return. Hall?
Yeah, I think it's coming at the perfect time. You look at a guy, like you said, I've never even heard of this guy before. Hodges is out there making plays against Christian Holmes. And obviously every defensive back is not perfect, and is going to get beat every once in a while. But it's just one of them things where you feel like if St-Juste was out there, he wouldn't have maybe got caught with that double move and they don't get that touchdown there. Game-changing play, which St-Juste has been making over the past couple of weeks so that he's been healthy. And like you said, Kyle, just going back to the beginning of the season where people were banged up, people weren't 100% going into the season. You saw the play of the offense, the play of the defense where it wasn't up to par, it wasn't up to the standard. And you see his guys started going on throughout the season. I'm not going to say they got healthier, but they got more adjusted to playing injured and whatnot. So that definitely helped out, and they go on a little winning streak. So I definitely think that coming in week 14, a lot of people in the beginning of the season were kind of like, oh, they screwed us with the bye week so late, blah, blah, blah. But lo and behold, come 14 weeks later, it's actually helping us out. So I definitely think that hopefully Benjamin St-Juste being back out there, he's going to make a game-changing play here or there. Chase Young being out there, even if it's only for 10 to 15 snaps, I think that within that 10 to 15, he can make one big play. And if he does that, I mean, that's only going to be huge motivation for the rest of the team. So I think it helps out a lot.
Yeah, now Reed, this next question is kind of geared towards you and I from the Colonel. How will the Burgundy Zone shorties be raised, James, Cash, and Corey, as diehard Commanders fans, completely indoctrinated by their parents, or will they be allowed to pick their own team as they get older?
No chance he's picking his own team ever.
No.
Plus, he makes terrible decisions already, so he would pick a terrible team, and
yeah,
it's just not going to happen. I'm going to force this on him like my parents forced this on me, like their parents forced it on them, and you got to put up with the suffering, baby. It is what it is.
We all did.
It makes you stronger. Exactly.
Exactly. Right. It gives you, it puts a little hair on your chest. And Cash does not have a choice. That I'm going to force that on him. I don't care what he says. He doesn't have to play football if he doesn't like, but his favorite football team will be the Commanders. And then Corey doesn't have a choice because the Commanders sent her a gift bag for her birth. and that was freaking awesome. They sent a little Mando stuffed animal. They sent her a little onesie with a little W cap,
That's
and then
so sick.
a little
Yeah.
setup, like little
Yeah.
pom-poms and like cheerleader outfit. And so, she's going to have that for the rest of her life. So
It's
she's
crazy
gonna,
that it is from China, though. It was a
Yeah.
knockoff, but it's still cool. It's a thought
Still
that counts.
really cool. Still really thought that counts. You're
Yes.
absolutely right. But yes, they are going to be indoctrinated. It doesn't matter. This is what they're doing. And there's nothing they can say about it, Colonel. I appreciate you, of course. But now let's go on to our next question. I'm going to start this with you, Puckett. Going into Discord chat server. This is from Mr. Scott Hartley. If you could take any player from the NFC East to put them on your team, who would it be and why? You can't have a quarterback either, Puckett.
I think it's pretty easy. I mean, it's either going to, I hate to say it, but it would be like CeeDee Lamb or Michael Parsons. Honestly, I just think that Saquon Barkley to me is an amazing talent, but I just don't trust his injury. So if I have to pick somebody who's going to make a difference on my team, it got to be Michael Parsons or CeeDee Lamb. As much as I hate to say that.
Yeah, what do you think, Reed?
I'm going to go a different route. I'm going to go with Lane Johnson. Fill up that right tackle. He hasn't allowed a sack in 2 years. I mean, he's just a fantastic offensive tackle. That would really just help shore up this offensive line up front, and we could finally do some good things. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I agree with you in that breath. I guess I'll say Zach Martin. I feel like that would be really good to add there. As much as it pains for me to say it, I'm not going to say Minka Parsons. As much as all you guys are probably going to comment on it, Minka doesn't deserve it. Even though what he tweeted today, he doesn't deserve it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Reed took mine. I was going to say Lane Johnson just because our offensive line's been banged up, and he's just been a staple at right tackle. Like Reed said, hasn't allowed a sack in 2 years. He's arguably like a top 3 just overall lineman in the NFL. And then
that's enough gloating about. I don't care about the Eagles.
I'm just saying, he would make the unit so much better. Hey, I'm just answering the question. That's all I'm doing.
It's not okay, Hall.
I would also take either Bradbury or Slay. I mean, not Trayvon Diggs because he's overrated, but I mean, we could have one of those nice little cornerbacks.
Now, Puckett, this next question in the Discord chat server is from our guy Meast, Brandon Reinbold. Thank you, Brandon. What do we need to fix the most during the bye week to close the season out strong and make the playoffs?
I mean, you got to get your offensive line right. I mean, we're not going to – I don't really care who you put in and where you put them in, but something has to work because what they've been showing the past few weeks is not going to work once you get to the next level. And especially, I feel like the limitations with Taylor Heineke are going to steadily start showing and be more of a factor for us in the future. So you have to get that offensive line right. I mean, you got to shape it up, to fit the scheme that you want to run these next few games. And the defense, I feel like, is fine. I mean, we see the progression that they've, been able to accomplish over the season, and especially with getting some players back healthy, that'll obviously improve them. The running back situation is good. Our wide receivers are playing like they should. Taylor Heineke, obviously, is, like we said, has limitations, so you can't expect the world from him. But our offensive line has got to protect everybody better, and they just haven't.
Yeah, for me, it's third down conversion rate on offense. Right now, 28th in the NFL. That's not getting it done because they're obviously the 24th in points scored. So you have to be able to convert on third down to be able to get you inside the red zone, which they are 18th at the moment. We have to be able to score more points. Look at the Rams from a couple years ago with Jared Goff and company. They didn't have like an overblown, like crazy good offense. It was just Sean McVay was calling a great offense. Todd Gurley was running the heck out of the football, which Washington is more than capable of doing with these running backs. But it's just getting the job, scheming these guys up, being able to get them in position to do that. You don't need to have Tom Brady be able to put up points close to 24 to 30 points. You can figure out a way to do that through the ground and through the air, and that's what I need them to focus on is getting more points scored, third down percentage, and then red zone conversion rate. Same as it was last year, dude. Work on those, and you are going to be in a good position for the playoffs. Because they've shown in the offseason, when they put their mind onto something, they do well at it. Jack Del Rio in the offseason, what he said, they worked on third downs, and right now on defense are 4th in the NFL, allowing only a 33% conversion rate. So what they work on, they do well at. So hopefully during the bye week, they work on the third down percentage and their red zone conversion rate.
And the NFC, sorry.
Oh, sorry, no, go Puckett.
Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was going to say that in the NFC, when you look at the points per game, the Eagles score like 28. Dallas scores like 27. Seattle scoring 25. San Fran is scoring 23 and a half. So these teams that you gotta compete against, they're scoring points. So you're definitely right. You got to score more.
Yep,
Yeah,
totally.
no, I agree with everything. I would say the run game, the defensive stopping the run game has got to get a little bit better. Going against Atlanta a couple weeks ago, they gave up like 30 or 40 plus rushing yards to Marcus Mariota on their read option. Last week they had Daniel Jones run for like 70 or 80 yards, whatever it was, on the read option and whatnot. So, and then you can see a couple plays here and there where Montez Sweat kind of cut inside, lost contain. You see Daniel Jones cut up, get a big gain. Um, Obviously Saquon Barkley's a great athlete, great running back, so he's going to get his no matter what. But as long as he's not breaking off the 30, 40, 50 plus yard runs on us, I'm completely fine with that. But like we talked about with Ethan, if they can contain Daniel Jones, hold him to like 30 to 40 rushing yards maximum, I definitely think that that'll be the recipe for success for this defense. And that's the one thing I think they need to clean up going forward.
Yeah, and look, you saying that, it makes perfect sense because Daniel Jones having 4 fumbles going into that game, fumbled obviously early on. That was his 5th fumble of the year. You almost like feel good about Daniel Jones like knowing that he can run and then being able to work on that so you could get the ball out of his hands, not allowing him to get those confidence building runs where he's running downfield. Make sure you're always hitting him hard because that ball might most likely pop out. You could use that to your advantage next time. Now,
yeah. So let me just add something real fast. On top of what all you guys said, getting the ball in the hands of your playmakers. Eventually, people are going to zone in on this run game, and once that happens, I mean, what do you have? We saw what happened when we got the ball in Jahan Dotson's hands last week. So I think just keep feeding it to Terry Jahan and Curtis Samuel, and eventually good things will happen.
I agree. And now, Reed, I want to keep this with you from A Joker to C. This from the Discord chat server. Thank you, sir. Congrats on your baby, Kyle. Thank you. I appreciate it, brother. Really do. If Washington goes out early in the playoffs, Reed, do we use the 2023 first-round pick over the quarterback upgrade or let Taylor Heineke and Sam Howell battle it out for quarterback 1 and QB 2? If so, then where is the focus for that first-round pick? Offensive line, linebacker, or best available?
It's going to be tough. I mean, picking right there, the Phil quarterback, I mean, you would have to trade up, I would imagine, to get anybody that's worthwhile. And so let's just say that they go sign somebody, a free agent, a veteran, or somebody, or maybe Hal comes in late in the season, plays well. They want to give him another shot next year. So let's just assume that they have quarterback. They have a plan there. Then in the first round, I mean, the first 2 rounds, it's got to be some combination of offensive tackles, somewhere on the offensive line, preferably maybe right tackle or something, so you can kick Cosme inside in round 2, maybe a cornerback early in round 1. I think somebody like Clark Phillips III, who's a good inside corner from Utah, would be some. I mean, you have Kendall Fuller, Benjamin St. Juste on the outside, this guy on the inside in the slot. I think he would just fit very well, but really depends on where you're picking, man. I'm still big on O-line. Like I said, Broderick Jones, somebody from Georgia. He's somebody who can play tackle or guard. So I think you could really got to look at those 2 positions outside of quarterback.
For me, I'm going to go into this. I'm going to say you let Taylor Heineke and Sam Howell battle it out, and you go get Michael Mayer in the first round. If you don't make the playoffs, that means you're middle of the pack. The reason I say that, I know that we have a plethora of tight ends, is what everyone's going to say. But a guy like Michael Mayer brings a kind of Travis Kelce kind of element to this, where it brings a distraction, it brings eyes on him, it opens up everything for everyone else. They can't just sit in the box because he's
never
there.
Have too many weapons.
He would help you on the offensive line, being able to run block, being one of the best in the game, being able to do that and pass block. I think that's somebody you could add into this offense that could easily help in the red zone and point conversion, because the tight ends at this moment are very injury riddled. They're banged up. You can't really depend on them at the moment. And this guy, Michael Mayer, would do that for you. So that's where I'm going. Reed?
I just went.
Oh, sorry, Hall. Oh, no, sorry. Puckett. I'm sorry. I'm lost right now.
You got 3 mics. You could have just said Mike.
No, Michael Mayer got me all messed up, man.
No, it's all good, man. I was enjoying the speech. So for me, I mean, this is how I look at it. I'm going to be straight up. I do not want to see Taylor Heineke starting for this team next year. I want him to be a backup either here or somewhere else. And it's probably not going to be here if that's not, if he's not going to start. I'm just tired of the mediocre route. I'm tired of being on the same path and never figuring it out. I mean, that will go into year 4 of Ron's tenure, and he still hasn't found the quarterback yet. Are we really going to sit here and be okay if, having Taylor Heineke? I get Sam Howell. I think that he should stay here and be, compete for a spot. But I think he really, really needs to solve this problem. And if it means, kind of mortgaging your future a little bit to move up to somebody maybe like the Bears, you might be able to move up and snag one of the better quarterbacks up top. but I feel like you definitely need to be aggressive and just get it right. I'm just tired of every year not knowing if we're going to have a good quarterback or if he's going to last or if he's going to get injured or how many,
he's even going to produce.
It's the same old thing every single year. I mean, we have to figure it out. But if Taylor Heineke does remain here, then obviously it should be a competition between him and Sam Howell, and the fair one should get it.
And I know that a lot of people out there agree with Puckett and his sentiments. I do. All I'm going to say is, as Washington fans, we should embrace that will never happen. Our 3 Super Bowls came from 3 different quarterbacks starting, and we just have to embrace that is our history, and that if it does happen, it will. But I
think in today's
we got to
game,
do it our way.
Yeah, it's the most important position in sports.
I know.
It is.
I know. It's just, and it's the one position
especially
we can't
today.
get.
Especially
There's a reason
today,
that doesn't really happen anymore. You know,
right?
The teams you see winning Super Bowls are teams with quarterbacks.
Now, let's go to our next question. I'm going to ask you with this from Tim Towner Reed. Rank the offensive line best to worst, and would you bring any back if you did not have to?
That one's, I mean, just the players that are healthy right now. Because,
yeah, exactly. Like, let's say, like, all right. So for me to start,
I think would be the most important, but he's injured, so I'm gonna go with Charles Leno. Still, I mean, he's made some plays that scratch your head, but he's still a nice, solid veteran who's, he's the leader on that offensive line. So I'm gonna go Charles Leno right now, number 1.
Yeah, for me, right next to that, right behind that is Andrew Norwell. I think that as much as he's been getting piled on this season, he has been consistent. He's been there, dependable, and he's played in almost every game. So you can't say poo-poo the guy, because what? Who do you want to put in there?
Mm-hmm.
Who do you got behind him, Puckett?
Honestly, it's kind of a toss-up for me. I feel like the first 2 guys you named are really the only ones that played really well enough on a consistent basis. So if I really had to pick somebody,
if Larson was out there, I'd say Larson right here.
Yeah.
I would, but
Cosme.
Well, I was going to say Cosme at first, but I've seen a lot of inconsistency with him. But Larson is a weird one because he's never really started out, or he hasn't been consistently good, but has shown that he could play the position well at times. And so that's why I say the first 2 you named are good because they're the more consistent. Everybody behind them has their moments. But if I had to give, I'd probably give it to Larson.
Yeah, I would agree with you there. And then from there, I think we can go Trey Turner, Cornelius Lucas. I think Lucas might be banged up himself. He has not looked to form.
You do got to at least consider Cosme up there just because of his potential. But you're right. He's been so his expectations were so sky high this year, and it's been so disappointing to see him. But I still think he can be a good player.
Yeah. Last question, guys, before we get out of here. Puckett, I'm going to ask you this from Andy Lockhart. Thank you, Andy. Oi, in the UK. Is Jalen Hurts this season's MVP? That's a flat no for me, sir. Straight up no. It's Josh Allen for me. If you're going to give it to anybody, it's Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes.
I was going to say Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, Josh Allen's played himself.
I don't care about his record. I still don't trust Jalen Hurts as a thrower. I'm sorry.
I'm only going to say I'm only going to say because
oh my god,
he has a squad. He has a squad
they
around.
Have the best record in the NFL. And they usually go.
They got a great offensive line.
Me personally, I would give it to.
He's been doing incredible
Patrick
things.
Mahomes.
Yeah,
and there's still time for Patrick Mahomes to edge him out towards the end of the season, but more than likely, 11-1 record. He's not the reason. He's not losing games for them, even though he has a squad around him. People don't want to give him credit, but someone made a good point earlier. I was listening to him talk. It's whenever you can step into an offense like that with all those weapons around you, great defense, great offensive line, weapons everywhere. There's a lot of pressure on you to go out there and not mess it up. So he's out there not only not messing it up, he's out there making plays. So I can't even really hate on Jalen Hurts right now.
Right.
Like I said, me personally, I would go Pat Mahomes, but they're 11-1 and he's putting up stats, so it'll probably go to him.
Yeah, somebody who's sneaking up the back though at the end of the year. I mean, I would go Patrick Mahomes right now, but somebody who's coming up the back strong is Joe Burrow. Kyle on a weekend coming up from behind, just go super strong and aggressive. But Joe Burrow, man, he's playing fantastic. He's somebody who could really.
Ted Bundy, man. Jeez.
I'm not saying you're murdering people.
Oh, you're talking.
I'm saying you're having, very aggressive.
Oh, dude, that's not cool.
What?
That's not cool. All right, to wrap this up, guys, last question from Andy Burrows. Any of us can answer this from the UK. Oi, appreciate you, Burrows. Will the Burgundy Zone boys be joining the English crew at the playoff game if and when we make it?
Hall.
Yeah.
No, I think Reed is the one that needs to answer this.
No bull.
I'm gonna say yes, and then I'm gonna fake on you guys. No, something will come up. No, I'm just kidding. Hopefully, yeah.
Yeah, I will fly out from Vegas.
A wedding.
They've known I had a wedding for like 2 months before.
I'm just kidding, Reed.
So,
he gets so defensive.
I went to the Packers home playoff game and it was lit. So
hey, if you guys are going to be there, if you guys are traveling from the UK, I will talk to my wife for a month in advance because obviously it's not possible because we don't know if we're going to make the playoffs or not. I'm just saying, if it does happen, I'll try to make it have as much as I can.
If they win against the Giants on Sunday, you can pretty much lock it in. So you better start planning after that.
Yeah.
I'm talking to you, Kyle.
What?
I say if they beat the Giants, you can pretty much lock them into the playoffs. So, but also now that I'm thinking about it. It's not even going to be a home playoff game. So, like, how will we go to the game?
Oh yeah, that's a good point. It's not going to be,
we didn't think that one through. No.
Yeah, because I thought they were coming for week 17.
I'm not flying to Minnesota. It's too cold. So,
no chance.
No,
hopefully, if it is a home playoff game, which it most likely won't. But,
it's impossible.
I know it's impossible. Okay, let's just dream. But yes, if it was at home, yes, we would be coming out with you boys. But thank you guys. Thank you, Puckett, for joining us for this episode. Thank you to Ethan Cadeaux for stopping by. Thank you to everyone for your submissions and to show your fan questions. And talking about this team really helps us bridge it. And anybody that contributes, we consider you family to this show. Thank you to everyone who reached out about Corey. Thank you to the Commanders for sending the merchandise, giving her a shout out, welcoming her to the world. I don't think a lot of kids out there has that ability. So that's really, really cool to say. And I really do appreciate them for doing it. That was pure class. All right, everybody. This is a great bye week. They're fighting for survival, so to speak, and being able to get to the playoffs. And so glad that we were able to talk this out. Enjoy the weekend, boys. Until next time, we'll see you guys on Monday. Have a safe weekend. Get all your bets in. Hopefully your parlays hit, unlike Hall.
Hey, I'm like 4 for 6 the past couple of days. So,
Steph Curry.
You had a good last week.
It is your birthday week, babe. Yeah.
Nah, it usually doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
Happy birthday, brother.
Appreciate it.
Dude, that's not true. I went to the casino for the first time on my birthday, and I walked away with a 1,000.
Yeah,
off one slot machine.
Nah, the first time I went to the casino, you're right. I did walk away on my birthday after the strip club.
See?
And then I threw it all at the strip club.
Luck does play a part in there. All right, everybody. Enjoy your birthday, Hall. For real, man. Happy birthday, brother. We couldn't do this show without you.
Appreciate it.
You're awesome. We appreciate the heck out of you. Puckett, as always, enjoy your, obviously, your global reach and going around the world. I'm sure you'll be in Scotland next at Stonehenge, doing whatever, standing on top of them.
Greece in April.
Yeah,
really? Yeah, finding out how if the aliens built the Colosseum.
All right, everybody. That's going to wrap us up for this episode. I hope you guys have a great weekend. Be safe, and we'll see you guys again early next week on Monday evening. I'm Kyle.
Paul.
And I'm former NFL scout Daniel Kelly.
Fuck it.
And we'll see you guys. Have a great weekend, everybody. Washington football. Woo! What's up, everyone? This is Kyle from the Burgundy Zone. We are releasing our own merch to support the show. If you want to rock the Burgundy Zone logo or you want to see Reed's face on your shirt, we got it. We're starting with t-shirts, hoodies, and zip-up. So if you're a fan of the show, make sure you snag one before they are gone. Check out the link in our bio on Instagram, or you can find the link in the description of the video. Thanks again for all your support. Until next time.